Life is full of ups and downs, but when setbacks happen, it can be hard to bounce back. So we are sharing ways to get over a major letdown. Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is with us to share some strategies to help us rebound and then move on. All right, so what do we do?
It's hard, isn't it? So, I mean, it can, think of how many times. A job loss, a breakup with someone you care about, an election that didn't go the way you want. It could be anything, right? And it hits us hard, and it almost, for some, it knocks us so off of our self that we have a hard time getting back. Some don't even ever get back. You know, you could have something that happened to you as a teenager that you're still battling today, trying to prove to yourself that, hey, that wasn't real. That's not the way to fix it. So we have 4 keys today we're going to go through to help you figure out how to let go. Let go of the letdown, how to move on, okay? First key, uncover your identity story. It's a weird idea, but every one of us, our entire lives, are creating this built-up identity for who we are. And that's where we accumulate a lot of stuff, our goals. I mean, our body becomes part of our identity. Our gender becomes part of our identity. In the elections, your political affiliation could have become part of your identity. Your family, your genes, your hair, everything can become part of who you are. So what I believe is, every time somebody has a major letdown in life, it's probably because it's rocking your identity. Every one of us needs to know we're lovable, we're capable, and we're secure. And when those things aren't happening, it rocks us. So anytime you had a breakup with an ex, it might be that you're worried about being lovable. Will my next person like me as much as this one? Will I be rejected the rest of my life? Or if I just lost a job, maybe I'm not capable. Maybe, and it starts to create this identity problem, this identity crisis. And if we don't look at the real identity crisis, then what happens over time is we can't let go of this thing. We've got to hang on to it and do something with it.
And it is. Those setbacks often, I mean, for everyone, at least for me as well in my life, they make you question that self-worth and am I really good enough, and how am I going to move forward from this? So
that's why people hang on to this. So your subconscious is probably telling you, don't let go of this because you haven't solved this yet. You still haven't proven you're capable because you still can't get a job. And if you keep getting a letter back where they're saying, sorry, we've hired someone else, your identity starts to be rocked. And as long as it's rocked, you may hang on and not let go of these issues.
So how do you feel lovable again and worthwhile again if you've experienced these setbacks?
Well, so one of the dilemmas is you probably have to reevaluate, and we'll talk about how you can reframe this. You have to reframe it so it's not about your worth, it's not about your capability. It might simply just not even be about you. A lot of times we don't even have all the data as to why something happened the way it happened. Most of us don't have the data. In fact, none of us have all of the data. The problem with being human, we think we do. We think they don't like me because this is the 4th job I've lost. And it may not be that I don't have the data. It may be I just may be in the wrong field, or I may have the wrong specialty, or I may have the wrong tools for it. So to change it, I wouldn't assume up front that we actually need to change anything, except the fact that maybe I shouldn't have my identity be about my relationships. Maybe my marital status may not be the most important part of who I am. Maybe the most important part of who I am is just that I'm a really good guy who can care and love deeply. Now, but what if I'm alone the rest of my life? Now watch, that gets to our next point. Another problem, or another way to overcome this issue and actually stay in and let go of the issues that we're struggling with, is we have to stay in the now.
And how do you do that when you're faced with this upset and your mind is going all over the place?
Well, notice, but where does your mind go? It probably goes to the past of what we used to have, or the future of what we'd like to have. And the reality of your past is you no longer have it. The reality of your future is it's not here. So one of the reasons we kind of get really anxious around these moments is because you're not in the now. Being in the now means I could have had a great past with somebody significant to me and cared about them deeply. But if I would actually, instead of dwelling on the past of what I've lost or my future of what I wanted to have, I might need to just stay now and just feel the emotion. Feel the pain of what's going on. Feel the experience of it. Because if I'm in the now, I can actually start to rethink.
And know that that's okay to feel that emotion, that pain, and that it's going to pass.
And don't like just try to move on by going backwards or forwards. Stay in it. And actually, while you're in it, start to rethink what you're feeling about. Start to identify, do I have an identity story here that's in crisis? if you lost somebody that's dear to you, obviously you're going to miss them, and it's a horrible thing, and you don't want to move on from it. Except if I stay in the now, instead of thinking about what I'm missing in the future and what I lost, staying in the now might make me identify that my identity issue is I'm afraid, because I don't know how to provide for myself because my spouse just left and she was the main provider. Then if I stay in the now and I know my identity issue, I can go start dealing with that issue, which will help me to move on and actually fix it.
Now, while you're in the now and thinking, you've said before to connect to your highest self. Yeah. What does that mean? How do you do that?
I don't believe I am what I am made of. I don't believe I am my car, my house, my job. I don't believe that I'm just a KSL contributor. I believe that there's some part of me that's deeply connected to a higher power. So, and everybody believes in some higher sense. It might be a God, it might be, you know, Mother Earth, it might be just connected to nature. But if I went and sat on the side of a mountain and stayed in the now and just took a big deep breath after something really impactful that I had lost came to me, what would you start to think about in the now? If your greatest power, your highest God came and sat next to you and started talking to you, what would you feel? And what would you think about? And what would start to matter? Because if you could connect to your highest self, your greatest contribution, what else you have to give this earth instead of what you've lost, it will actually start to change it. So I want us, while we're in that space, to start to identify, if I'm holding my grandkid and I have this fear that I lost something, or even just the election recently, a lot of people are having issues with, and I'm holding my grandchild, without going to the future or dwelling on the past, what could I share of me that matters?
Okay, now moving to our next one, converting your pain into purpose.
Yep.
That's that's easier said than done.
There's two things I believe this life can bring us. There's two ways to look at it. Either this life is here to teach you, or this life is here to torture you. And you have to decide. If it's here to torture you, then I'm not going to turn this into anything but misery. But if this life's here to teach me, then I got to ask, what can I learn from this moment?
Okay, and quickly, where can people get more information?
Just go to matttownsend.com. Fastest way to get it. And remember, though, stay in the now and look to your better self.
You've got this.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.